Are you ready to become a change maker? Our 48-week postgraduate program in public policy or the PGP may be just the thing for you. This hybrid program is designed to give you both the theoretical foundation and hands-on experience needed to excel in policy making. With a mix of expert-led webinars, in-person workshops, and policy simulation exercises, you'll gain real-world skills along with personalized mentorship. Through our policy programs, we connect good people to good ideas and good networks. Apply now at the link in the description to make an impact.
Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of All Things Policy. I'm your host, Sourav Mannaraprayil, and today we're talking about something that's been hitting Bengaluru commuters right where it hurts. Their wallets. Yes, we're talking about the metro fare hike. Joining me today is my colleague Anisree Suresh, who's been closely following this issue. Anisree, Bengaluru Metro just became the most expensive metro system in India, and let's just say people are not happy. X has been buzzing with complaints, debates, and of course, some top-tier memes. So today we're going to break it all down. Was the fare hike necessary? Will it improve the metro system or just push more people back onto the Bengaluru's already clogged roads? So what exactly happened? Let's start with the basics.
Yes, Sarah, this is a very interesting topic, and I'm quite happy to be here and discuss this topic. So, like you rightly said, there has been a lot of public discourse, and there's a bit of a public criticism on the latest fare adjustment implemented by the Bengaluru Metro Rail Corporation. So, BMRCL initially announced a 50% fare hike, kind of resulting in 70% to 110% station-to-station pricing, which making Bangalore one of the costliest metro system in India. So, and we had a lot of public outcry, public protest on this, and later BMRCL lowered tariff by up to 30%. Yet, there's still almost a 5% net rate increase over the prior prices. So this fare hike has made metro travel more expensive, especially for those who rely on buses or autos for last mile connectivity and to travel to their offices and back home. However, you also have to look at the functional sustainability of public transport services, which is very crucial to ensure an adequate supply and maintain the quality of the existing system, right? So there's a question of how do you make the public transportation affordable for the public? At the same time, how do you make sure that there is certain kind of financial viability and a sustainability ensured to these operators? So while a gradual hike in fares might be necessary, the metro has to look at what are the other revenue sources it can to expand its revenue options and make sure that public transport benefits everyone, right? Not just the people who ride it, but also the wider society in the city.
Yeah, and just to put that in perspective, Bengaluru's metro now has a maximum fare of 90 rupees, which makes it the costliest metro system in India, even though it covers only 76 kilometers.
Yes.
It's crazy how, the Bengaluru Metro Rail Corporation only deals from recommendations from FFC, the Fare Fixation Committee.
Yes.
And they play a very key role.
Yes.
Could you explain what this committee does?
Yeah. So this Fare Fixation Committee is the committee headed by a judicial person from one of the judges, and you have representative from the central government as well as state government. So the justification for this hike, as BMRCL had put it, is that saying that they have a lot of loan repayment that they have to undertake in the next few years to repay for all the loan that we had undertaken to fund the infrastructure, the metro infrastructure and other stuff, right? Okay, so there's a lot of fare hike, and the Fare Fixation Committee recommends that if you're able to hike the price of the fare, then we'll be able to at least get some money back for the loan repayment. So While the FFC can play a bigger role in calculating the operational and input cost, there also needs to be a wider public discourse on maintaining public transport's affordability while ensuring services financial sustainability, right? I think that slightly goes beyond the role of FFC, and that's where we need to have a lot more conversations on, how we can make sure that our public transport system is affordable, at the same time it's running profitably.
Exactly. They are justifying the fare hike by pointing to loan repayments, as you said. And it's around 10,400 crores and rising cost, by the way.
Yes.
And the real issue, in my opinion, is that Bengaluru citizens have no say in the matter. They've only reached out to the Bengaluru citizens using a survey that they had put out a couple of months ago. But other than that, there is nothing. Because with no elected representatives in the BMRCL, bureaucracy has free rein in shaping its policies.
That's true. I think the local governments should play ideally a bigger role in these kind of system, especially when it related to public transportation system within a system. And that's where you can actually ensure that affordability is kind of maintained and ensure that the system is meeting the demands of the people of the city.
It is a key point. I think public transportation is not about the financials, it's a public good.
Yeah.
So, why is affordability such an important factor?
Yeah, so more than public transportation being a public good, it's also about the positive externalities it creates, right? So that's why the affordability aspect is a very key aspect in public transportation system. So for example, for the growth of any city, a well-connected public transportation system is necessary, especially for those from low economic backgrounds to find affordable places for stay. Sometimes it could be in the periphery part of the city, while allowing them to have employment opportunities in the central part of the city. So you need well connected and affordable public transportation system to make sure that kind of transit is happening. Another aspect is how it reduces the urban congestion challenges and traffic challenges in the city, and Bangalore is known for its traffic challenges. So when you reduces the urban congestion on the roads, you also improve the economic output of the city. It's directly correlated. And the most important aspect of public transportation is the more people use public transportation, you have less pollution, the carbon footprint is going down. So that's a positive externality you're creating there. For all these factors, it's necessary to keep the public transportation affordable for the public. So while looking at the affordability of public transportation, one has to also look at the cumulative cost of an individual's journey from point A to point B. So this is a cost per trip by an individual. How you calculate is it's an integrated journey cost between different modes of transport from point A to B. It could be metro, it could be the auto you take after the metro, or the bus that you have to take to ensure that you're reaching the place that you want to reach. So in a well integrated transport system where you have all these different modes of transportation connected well, you have metro, the sub railway system, they all link to the other modes of transport. And that will kind of ensure that there's a seamless and less costly affairs for an individual to transport from point A to B. Since many of the Indian cities lag in ensuring this integrated public transportation, the cost of using the metro goes even beyond its fare. That means when you're calculating how this fare is affordable for the public or not, you also have to look at the other modes of transport and how the overall cost of the journey increases. And if you're looking at it a month before the metro hike, there was also a revision of the best fares in Karnataka with hikes about 15%, if I'm not wrong. And again, citing the massive operational cost and debt. That's a common thread among all the public transportation system. And this automatically increases the total journey cost.
So let's not forget, Bengaluru has serious last mile connectivity issues.
Yes.
Unlike cities with strong feeder networks, commuters here often pay extra just to reach a metro station.
Yes.
It's like when I was looking at apartments, I was struggling to find one near the metro line.
Yeah.
And even if I find something that's 5 minutes away from the metro, it is a real pain to book an auto, go over there, where I have to pay 100 rupees for the auto. And then to my commute to the office, I have to pay another 100.
That's why like the feeder best network and the last mile connectivity options is like quite important. But we have been taking like a lot of metro stations, metro systems across India have been taking a lot of initiative to have a lot of feeder buses assigned to these metro stations and have certain bicycle options for the commuters, as well as you need to have more auto and all those kind of public transportation services like linked to the metro system as well. It's quite important last mile connectivity is ensured.
So now we have an expensive metro,
Yeah.
rising bus fares, and weak last mile connectivity.
Yes.
That's the perfect combination for reducing ridership, isn't it?
Of course it is. So especially when two-wheelers are the cheapest means of travel in India, and even travel by car is also financially efficient compared to the integrated cost of journey by public transport, the hike kind of disincentivizes the commuters from using public transport. So I think it was kind of directly reflected in the drop that we could see in the daily commuters on the first working day after the Bangalore Metro hike. I think one of the reports show that around like 42,000 people didn't take the metro after that. But since it's just we need actually data from a long-term trends to understand whether it has actually affected the ridership. But overall, I feel like when you have a metro that only spans 76 kilometers, like you had rightly mentioned in the beginning, maximum fare right now is standing at 90, which makes it one of the costly systems. So definitely it would have some impact on the ridership.
Yeah, because take Delhi as an example. So they had a fare hike, back in 2017, I guess, and the ridership dropped by almost 300,000.
Yes.
I think a similar trend could hit Bangalore any time of day.
Yeah.
Because even when carpooling is an option, the traffic won't let you carpool, and it's impossible to find a cab during peak and rush hours.
Yes.
And if this trend continues, it completely defeats the purpose of having a metro in the first place.
Yes.
Which is to reduce congestion and encourage public transport.
Yes. So that's kind of defeats the purpose of the public transportation system, right? So since the hike, there has been a dip of like 4% ridership if you're calculating with like 8.29 lakh passengers. So which showcases that the demand here is elastic in nature, right? Which means that it changes with the price changes. So while the hike might be able to generate some kind of extra revenue for the metro system, the core objective of this kind of a public transportation system will be to to ensure that there is a well functioning public transportation system that reduces the congestion on the roads, and you have a lot of people that are adopting public transport system. So given that the Bangalore Metro only covers like a very few kilometers, even a 4% drop in ridership could have like serious negative externality, right? Like, it increases the urban congestion further. It increases the fuel consumption among the people and increases pollution, and it decreases the economic productivity overall.
So I want to flip the argument. I know we've been talking about how the metro has changed our life, where it's burning a hole in our pockets and wallets.
Yes.
But running a metro system is not cheap.
No.
If we say fare hikes aren't the answer, how else can BMRCL ensure financial viability?
That's a very interesting question. Like when you look at the any kind of public transportation system, along with the affordability argument that you have been talking about so far, we need to ensure that there is certain kind of revenue being generated from the fare revenue mechanism, as well as through other mechanism, to ensure there is a sustainable functionality ensured for the public transportation system. So, but at the same time, you have to accept that the periodic fare hikes are needed to ensure that the system runs efficiently and remains sustainable in the long run. However, if the metro becomes unaffordable for a large population, it defeats its purpose and the investment will be wasteful. So, as public transportation is a positive externality, I don't think the beneficiaries are just the commuters that are using the metro for commute, right? It also the private vehicle owners, because there's a lot of reduced road congestion due to like you have like well connected metro system, and the larger society at large, if you look at it, because it provides cleaner air and it increases the property values for those people who are staying near metro station. And I feel that all those who benefit from public transportation, directly or indirectly, should contribute to its revenue.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
But We can't ignore that metros need money to function because the problem is that Indian metro systems rely heavily on passenger fares,
Yes.
which isn't sustainable in the long run.
Yeah.
So globally, these metro systems follow a different revenue model, right?
Yeah.
Instead of forcing passengers to shoulder the entire financial burden, they can generate a significant chunk of their revenue from non-fare sources.
Yes.
So what do you have to say about that? And how can BMRCL implement this non-fare revenue in such a way that is not a boon for the people who are traveling every day?
Yeah. So one way is like non-revenue expansion. There's like two ways you can do it. One is like you indirectly, substitute this from the other means of money that you can fund for the public transportation. For instance, the revenue from congestion pricing on private vehicles and parking fees for public parking spots that you can later convert to a public transportation fund to support all this public transportation system. And like you said, the non-fare revenue expansion also could be like the real estate monetization by leasing commercial spaces inside metro stations and on-station advertisement. And I think you can introduce certain interesting dynamic peak hour advertising charges as well, where rates are adjusted according to the commuter traffic. And I think the Kochi Metro has introduced this station naming rights. That's an interesting policy that Bangalore also can adopt, and that also gives opportunities for brands to sponsor stations, and the metro stations can make a lot of money out of it. I think more than anything, the demand for public transportation needs to be increased. That's also something you have to ensure. So that if you improve the ridership, the metro has to provide certain incentive for the commuters, and that later they can convert to the revenue, right? Yeah.
So yeah, station naming rights is a fun topic to touch on. Like I know Kochi has been doing it for a
Yes.
while, but imagine Bangalore. Suddenly Indira Nagar is changed to Bob Station. And that can create hellfire, or there might be people who are in support of the notion. But then again, imagine having brands rule over a particular station. The entire aesthetic of the station would be changed.
Yeah.
There's also the maintenance will be done
Yeah.
by the brands that are promoting their products.
Yes.
And they can also have pop-ups anytime they want.
Yes.
And it's retail stores and maybe eateries, if they bring in so the footfall and the traffic that usually happens in metros are from distant stations because
Yeah.
no one wants to live in the city.
Yes.
So commuters from Whitefield or the other end of the Purple Metro line, if they have breakfast eateries over there, they would definitely grab a bite, maybe a hot dosa and vada before starting their journey.
Yes, it's very interesting. You have a lot of land value, you have a lot of real estate value that you could generate from the stations and everything. Like you said, a lot of shops, you can have malls linked to it. I think the Kochi example could be one, like the Lulu Mall linked to the station and everything. And some of their stations are named after the choice school and all this thing. That is the growth of a city should be dependent on that. The public transportation system shouldn't be very separated from the the consumer culture of a city, right? So I think it actually could revenate a lot of revenue. And there has been some efforts in that way to lease out these spaces for shops and everything, but I think there needs to be an active effort. I think the FFC, like we spoke earlier, should focus a lot on how they can increase the revenue from these non-revenue expansion models. And I also want to talk about the subscription model. The Metro also introduces this certain smart cards, right? So right now, I think it's the offer, the discount for the smart card users is just 5%. I don't think that's enough to incentivize the regular long-term commuters to use the metro. So you need to have a lot of other options, and also have to ensure the last mile connectivity options like feeder buses are provided. I think the overall the argument is instead of disincentivizing commuters to use public transportation, we need policies that support investment in India's undersupplied public transportation system.
And I think these subscription models you're talking about can also have additional, premium services
Yeah.
that can come with it.
Yes.
So I was just brainstorming with one of my colleagues, and they mentioned that if they had metro lounges and co-working spaces in metro stations, like select metro stations,
Yes.
like where there's high traffic, they don't even have to step out of the metro station to work, to go to their office. If they have a remote working policy, and if we provide, Wi-Fi, a cafeteria,
Yes.
maybe a personalized barista.
It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, so these select metro stations can be turned into work hubs.
Yes.
Just how all these other companies are providing co-working spaces, why can't these metro stations be co-working spaces?
A lot of that's why it really high time that we think about all these policy options and see that we ensure the affordability, at the same time make sure that there's a lot of revenue being created through these kind of mechanisms. So yeah, I think that's the overall argument that we have to put up also, the financial viability of any kind of public transportation system has to be ensured, but I don't think the commuters alone should pay for that.
Yeah, so I think you can wrap this up because we've unpacked the real impact of fare hikes,
Yes.
why affordability matters, and how high costs could push people away from public transport. And we've also seen that metros need revenue to survive. The challenge is finding a balanced approach. And I figured that public transport should be convenient and affordable to private vehicles, which is not a luxury, by the way.
Yes.
But the more people shift to metro travel, it's better for everyone.
Yeah.
As you said, less congestion, lower pollution, and a more efficient city. And how I pray for that. And instead of just hiking fares, they just need smarter policies
Yes.
that encourage metro use and financially viable, through diverse revenue streams. And, we could sit here and talk about for another 30 minutes about how they could improve the metro. But then again, that's not the real point here.
Yes.
How fixing these policies could have an effective change on the current working of the metro stations could be improved drastically. And that's a great note to end on. So thank you, Anisree, for this insightful discussion. And thank you for our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, do follow, rate, and share All Things Policy. We'll be back soon with more discussions on policies that shape our life. Until next time, stay informed and keep questioning.
Thank you.
If you liked our show, dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs. Check us out at our Twitter handle @TakshashilaINST or our website takshashila.org.in.